Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is DylanEDU, and today I'm joined by Maxime Bernier. Maxime Bernier was the Conservative MP for Beauce from 2006 till 2019, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yes.
And he served in various cabinet positions under Stephen Harper, most notably Foreign Affairs. However, he ran for the leadership of the Conservative Party and finished in a very close election to Andrew Scheer. And in 2018, after some concerns with Andrew Scheer's leadership, he formed his own party called the People's Party of Canada. And in 2019, they won 1.6% of the vote, and Bernier was defeated in his riding. However, in 2021, despite not winning a seat, the People's Party did increase their vote share to 5% in light of many disaffected Conservative voters moving towards the PPC. So, Mr. Bernier, would you like to comment on that and introduce yourself a bit to my audience?
Yes, you're right about that. We created the People's Party of Canada in 2018. When I didn't win the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada, that leadership contest, I tried to work for 15 months with the leader that was elected at that time, Andrew Scheer. And after 15 months, early in in June 2018, he told me that he won't take any of our ideas. And like you said in the beginning, our platform was very popular during that leadership contest because I had 49% of the vote. So, I did a press conference and I said that the Conservative Party of Canada is intellectually and morally corrupt, and they don't fight for conservative values. And so what I did, we created the People's Party based on the same ideas that I was promoting during my leadership contest. And it went, we had a good year to prepare the People's Party to be ready for the election. And like you said, we had 1.6% of the vote. We almost tripled our score from 2019 to 2021 with 5% of the vote. And I will be running, and we'll have a candidate in every riding for the next election in October 2025. And, if we almost triple our score, if we double our score from 5 to 10%, that would be great. And we are promoting the same ideas. The difference with us and the Conservative Party of Canada is we have always the same platform. We won't change our electoral platform. We won't do any survey. We believe in a strong Canada, putting people first, and we are promoting our platform. So what I said in 2019 and what I said in 2021 during these general elections, I will say the same thing at the national general election.
Well, thank you for that introduction. And I want to touch on what you were saying with the Conservatives. So if the polls are to be believed, it is very likely that Pierre Poilievre will be Canada's next prime minister. So I just like to ask you then, what do you think Pierre Poilievre will improve on from Justin Trudeau? And what do you think the Conservative Party still needs to improve on from the Liberal Party?
I believe that you are right, saying that Poilievre may be the next prime minister. Poilievre won't win the next election. That it will be Trudeau. Justin Trudeau will lose the next election. People are voting against Trudeau. They're not voting for Poilievre. But that being said, Poilievre, I think, if you look at the polls, will win the next election with a majority. So for us, we will push our ideas, and some people are saying that because we exist, we are splitting the vote from the Conservative. That's not true. When you split something that is the same. If you have an apple and you cut the apple in two, you have two pieces of the same apple. But for us, the Conservative and us, our ideas are very different. Poilievre won't withdraw from the Paris Accord. Poilievre will do everything to achieve the targets of the Paris Accord. without imposing a carbon tax, but it will impose more regulations and it will give subsidies to the green industry. We won't. Poilievre won't fight, mass immigration. Actually, is pandering to the immigrants in different communities to have their support. So he's okay with mass immigration like Trudeau. We will have a moratorium on permanent residence, and our goal is to end the mass immigration. To first of all, because as you know, our standard of living is going down. We have a housing crisis in Canada because there's too many people. When you have 1.2 million newcomers that are coming in Canada, with a country that is having that is about 40 million people, and the growth of our population is coming from immigration. 97% of our growth of our population is coming from immigration. So it's a replacement of native born Canadians. And I want to stop that. So that's another big difference with us and the Conservative Party. And there's other also issues that are important for the future of this country, like the woke and the radical gender ideology. For us, there's only two sexes, men and women. And Poilievre won't speak about that. The diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the federal level. We will abolish that. Poilievre won't do anything about that. And we will promote unity and equality of rights and meritocracy instead of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we are very different than the Conservatives. That being said, at the next election, Poilievre may be able to have a majority government. What I'm going to say, the People's Party, what we will say to Canadians at that time, I'll tell them, you need the People's Party to keep Pierre Poilievre honest, to keep him in the right direction. Pierre Poilievre it will be a better government than Trudeau, but it's very easy to do that. But he's afraid of speaking about real conservative values and family values. So I will say to the Conservative, you want to get rid of Trudeau, that's your main priority, but look at the polls. Poilievre will win with a majority. Now you can vote for your values. Now you can vote for what you believe. Now you can vote for something instead of voting against something. And if we have more support and some candidates elected, we will be there to keep Poilievre honest and to push our ideas. So the People's Party will have an important role to play at the next election and after the next election.
Thank you for that. I just want to follow up on 2 points you mentioned. First of all, what do you define as pandering to different ethnic groups? And second of all, what do you mean when you say replacement of native-born Canadians? Like, do you mean in the workforce, society? And what do you mean? And generally, like, what do you think? Like, I'm just going to assume based on your platform, you believe in the idea of cultural assimilation. And from there, do you believe in what do you believe the place of immigrant cultures in Canada is, if that makes sense, without sounding too
Yes,
attacking?
actually, we are welcoming immigrants. And in the past, immigrants were coming here, and yes, they were part of our society, and they were able to participate in our society. They came here with a different culture, but they left behind their culture of their country of origins and integrated in our culture and they keep some flavor of their culture of origin. So, and we didn't live in ghettos across the country. Now with mass immigration, that is not the same. Yes, they're coming here in Canada, and we are not promoting the integration of our immigrants. Actually, we're doing the opposite as a country because of the Multiculturalism Act. We are promoting multiculturalism, and multiculturalism is a failure in Europe and here in Canada, in UK, in France, in Switzerland, in Germany. It's a failure. All cultures are not equal. And when you have having immigrants from the third world, they are importing their third world culture, and they are importing their conflicts coming from their country of origins here in Canada. So we need to abolish the Multiculturalism Act, and that's part of our platform. So yes, we will abolish that. We will have a moratorium on permanent residence. We will have fewer international students and fewer also foreign temporary foreign workers. So to be sure that to fight the challenges that we're having in our society for housing, the integration of our immigrants, and also now if we with 1.2 million newcomers, what I'm saying it's a replacement of native born Canadians. Why? Because our birth rate is very low, is about 1.6%. And just to renew a population, the birth rate must be about 2.1, 2.2%, 2.1 and 2.2 children, not percent, sorry, 2.1 and 2.2 child by couple, but that's not the case. So now the growth of our population is coming from immigration, 97%. So that's why I'm speaking about a replacement of native Canadian borns. Actually, if you look at the growth of our population from 2022 to 2023, that was 3.2%, the growth of our population in Canada. The average growth of population in the OECD countries, in the Western countries, from 2022 to 2023, that was 0.6%. Us, it's 3.2%, and all coming from immigrants. So we need to stop that. It's having a big impact on job for our youth in Canada. Actually, also our standard of living is going down because you have more people that are coming here, because you have a lot of people in mass immigration. The economy is growing, but the economy is not growing as fast as the populations. So our GDP is growing, the gross domestic products, but our GDP per capita, our GDP per habitant is going down. So we are poor. And so that's why we need to stop mass immigration. And that's why it's a fact. It's a mathematical reality that we are replacing native-born Canadians by immigrants who are not integrating our society. And we are telling them, keep your culture, don't integrate to our society. And they are living in ghettos in different cities across the country.
Well, thank you for clarifying a little bit too. And I just want to know, I don't think this requires much of an answer, but do you think that Pierre Poilievre is more conservative than, say, Erin O'Toole or Andrew Scheer?
Yes, a little bit more on the economy. He said that he will cut the carbon tax. O'Toole was in favor of a carbon tax, and Scheer was in favor of a carbon tax. So that's a difference. But the problem is not the carbon tax. The problem is the Paris Accord. Because for us at the People's Party, there's no climate emergency. And the climate is changing and will always change, and there's nothing new about that. And we need actually more CO2, because CO2 is food for plants. And when you have more CO2, actually you have the planet is greener. So all that propaganda about CO2 and climate change, Poilievre is buying that, and Poilievre is pushing that with different regulations and subsidies. But we are not playing that game. We won't do anything for the climate because there's no climate emergency. So on certain points, Poilievre is a little bit different than O'Toole and Andrew Scheer.
I want to shift gears a little bit. So now I find, as a pro-lifer especially, that there's the big divide in the Conservative Party of today is between social conservatives and social progressives. And the key issue, in my opinion, there is abortion. Can you say clearly your position on abortion? And is the People's Party a pro-life party?
Yes, So you're right about saying that all the pro-life who are voting for the Conservative Party of Canada, nothing will happen. Poilievre won't table legislation on abortion. He doesn't want to reopen that debate. He was very clear during his leadership campaign and after that. So for pro-life people, that would be the statu quo. On our side, what we're offering to them, I said, I'm against the late-term abortion. That's a murder. A late-term abortion must not be permitted in our country, and that's happening all across the country.
What about
So
what about not late-term abortions? What about like 6 weeks and beyond, even conception and beyond? Like, do you believe life
yeah,
begins at conception? And do you believe that
yeah.
abortion should be illegal from the moment of conception?
Yeah, so what I'm telling you, the party doesn't have a position on that. And we have a lot of pro-life people that are running for the People's Party of Canada. What I'm telling them, we will open the floor and we will allow our members of parliament to table legislation on abortion. And yes, we will reopen the debate on abortion. And for me personally, what I'm telling you that late-term abortion, I'm against that. And like in different European countries and in different states in the US, there's some legislation against late-term abortion, some against second trimester abortion. So it's depending on different states. Some states are not allowing abortion at any moment. So I'm open to have that debate. I'm telling you, if there's a legislation on late-term abortion, I will vote against that. But I know that some of our candidates will table maybe different legislation on abortion, and we'll have that debate, and we'll have a parliamentary commission with experts that will come. And yes, we need to reopen the debate, and we need to have a first step. And the first step must be, we need to end the murder of the preborn, and that's happening in our country. That's why, and I strongly believe that if you look around the country, if you explain that to Canadians, Poilievre doesn't want to speak about that because he's afraid of the mainstream media. But if we explain that to Canadians, we'll have a support of a majority of Canadians on the abolition of late-term abortion, and it would be easy, I believe so, to pass a legislation on that, and that may be a first step. And when you have that, your question about, do you want to abolish abortion at the second trimester or earlier, that we'll be able to have that debate in the House, and we'll see. But I'm telling you, we need to end the murder of the preborn children, because at late term, it's a baby, it's an infant, and when you're doing that, and actually you can do that in Canada a couple of hours before giving birth. And that's a murder, and that's happening in our country. So let's fix that, and I'm open to have the debate after that to be more progressive on that idea.
So just to clarify for some of my more pro-life audience too, if there was a legislation today about, let's say, if there was legislation before the House of Commons about, let's say, a 6-week abortion ban, like what they have in Texas, how would you vote on that? I respect your party having like a blanket so that you can have some room for individual dialogue, but you personally, how would you vote on a 6-week ban?
I don't know. I will have, and that's why we're gonna need to have experts and doctors that will come and do and being witness in parliamentary commission. And I'm open to change my ideas. So that's what I'm telling you. I'm very strong about voting against a late-term abortion, but if there's a legislation earlier than that, I will look at it. I will look at that legislation, and we'll see. But for now, what I'm telling you, me personally, it's late-term. But I know that some of our candidates, if they're elected, will table legislation on that. The good news for me is we will have that debate in Canada, and we'll have a huge debate. We'll look at other states like Texas or France or other countries. So, and that will be a huge debate, and that will be helpful to educate the population about that, because now, it's like a censorship on abortion in Canadian politics. The mainstream political parties, they're too afraid of the radical left, and they don't want to speak about that. We are not afraid. We want our candidate to speak about that. And actually, at the last election, I had a candidate that said, "No, Maxime, I'm very happy that you're opening the floor. I can table legislation and on that subject." And for me, the candidate told me, "For me, I'm against abortion all the way." I said, "Perfect, table legislation, and we'll see, and we'll have a debate."
So what about LGBT issues? For instance, does the okay, so a little while ago, Conservative MP Arnold Viersen went on Nate Erickson-Smith's podcast to talk about I actually forget what the topic was, but the discussion delved into Mr. Viersen's opposition to abortion, as he is one of the pro-life Conservative MPs. And he said that he would vote no to he would vote no to same-sex marriage if it were proposed today. What about you? Do you support redefining marriage back to its traditional definition? And can you elaborate on that position?
Our party doesn't have a position on that. That would be a free vote for all our candidates about that. And if a candidate of the People's Party of Canada is elected and wants to table a legislation to review that, we will review it. So for me, it's not a priority. I think that, the priority must be more abortion than that. But I don't have any position right now about it. We don't have a position as a party. It will depend on different candidates elected if they have a different point of view. But what I'm telling you, we need to be able to have debates on supposedly taboo subject. And the Conservative members of Parliament cannot table legislation on that. They are not able to do that. The leader does not allow that. Poilievre does not allow that. We will, and when that will be tabled, I will read the bill and I will look at it and I will decide after that.
So shifting gears one more time to a issue that you've become spoken a little bit more about, especially after the UK election, is your support of proportional representation in Canada. Can you tell my audience about your position on proportional representation and what system you want implemented in Canada, if you have a preferred system, and why?
But that will be, more proportionality in our electoral system. I like the parliamentary system. I don't want to change that. We can change the way that we are elected our members of parliament. And like in UK, a populist party, it's a little bit more difficult for us to have candidates elected because there's no proportionality in our electoral system. We had 5% of the vote at the last election, but we don't have 5% of the members of parliament. I want to have some proportionality in our electoral system. Like in UK, I'm very pleased that the populist party, the Reform Party over there, was able to have 12% of the vote, and they were able to elect 5 MPs. So for us, we'll see. I hope that we'll be able to double our score for 5 to 10. But yes, I'm a fervent proponent of more proportionality in our electoral system. Maybe, if you have 5% of the vote, if you can have at least 2% of the MPs or 1%, that would be good. That would be actually a better system than the one that we have first past the post. So yes, I'm open to a reform on our electoral system.
Is the PPC aligned with any of the provincial parties in Canada? And regardless of your answer there, do you have a preference for who you want to win in Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and in BC this fall?
No, we don't have any alignment with any provincial political parties. We are doing politics at the federal level, and our members and our candidates are free to support any party that they want at the provincial level. So we are not interfering in provincial elections, and so that's why I'm doing politics at the federal level, and I'll let our members and our supporters to support the party that they want at the provincial level in their province.
How about you in Quebec though? Like for members or for people who might share your opinions in Quebec, is there a party for them to support, do you think, in your province? Or how would you
In my province, it's a little bit difficult. You have the PQ, who is ahead in the polls right now, the Parti Québécois, and as you know, they have an option to have a referendum on separation. So I'm not a partisan of the Parti Québécois. We have Mr. Legault, that is a premier in Quebec, is the one who he did impose all the draconian measures during the COVID-19 that I fought against at the federal level. So I'm not a fan of Mr. Legault. And we have the Parti conservateur du Québec, a young party. They didn't have any candidate elected, a new political party. They're affiliated with the Conservative Party of Canada. So answering your question, I don't know for which party I will vote in Quebec at the next election. The next election in Quebec will be in 2026. So I have time to think about that. But I can tell you that I won't vote for the PQ. I will look at the different Federalist Party and we'll see at that time.
So touching on you living in Quebec, actually, you have ran in Portage-Liscar in the last by-election, given that that was the seat that your party did the best in the 2021 election. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you've said you want to run in that seat next election, correct?
Yes, after the election, I said, I had 17% of the vote. I want to build on that and run there at the next election. I'm not so sure what we're going to do. As I told you, that seat, that riding, Portage-Liscar, was a very good riding, and I did very well at the by-election. But we will see which riding, if there's another riding that is better than Portage-Liscar. So I don't know. That's my idea, to run in Portage-Liscar, but we'll see. I want to take the final decision before the end of this year. So it can be Portage-Liscar. I know that in Northern Ontario, there's a couple of good ridings there also, or it can be back in Quebec. But when I'll do the announcement, if it's in Portage-Liscar, I'll do the official announcements there with our people. And but for now, yes, it's still a priority for me to run over there. It may change, but for now, it's a priority. But I will need to take my final decision before the end of this year.
And would you move to that riding then? Like, I know legally you don't have no obligation to, but just given
Yeah.
that you would be representing a Manitoba riding, would you move to reflect that?
Yeah. Like I said, if I win, I will move there. When I run the first time in 2006, I run in Beauce. That's 3 hours south of Montreal. But I was living in Montreal. So during that campaign, I was living in Montreal. I went in Beauce to do a campaign in 2006, and I was able to win. And so I moved in Beauce, and I was in Beauce for 16 years. Now I'm back in Montreal. But yes, I will move in the riding where I will be elected for sure. Yes.
So an issue that the People's Party gets a lot of flack from, especially among like Twitter people, is that you guys don't have a party constitution, have never had a leadership race, and have never had a party convention. Are there any plans for any of those things to happen?
Yes, first, it's wrong. It's not true. We have governing documents. We have a constitution. What we don't have, and we are a political party that is approved by Election Canada, and we are a non-profit organization under the legislation in Canada, and we have regulations and governing documents. What we don't have as a party is a regulation or a rule for the new leadership. So when I will resign, we need to have a process for our members to be able to elect the new leader. So we don't have that process. That's the only thing that we don't have. But actually, we had convention. We had two conventions. The first one, when we created our party in 2019, we had a convention in Ottawa, and we just have our second revision conference in Ottawa in the beginning of August, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this year. So 2 weeks ago in Ottawa. And so after each election, yes, I'm the leader of the People's Party of Canada. And after each election, I'm doing a leadership review. And we did that at the last election. We hired an independent firm, and we gave them the list and the emails of our members. And we told that firm, do a referendum on the question if they want to have a leadership review. And so they did it, and they gave us the result. And after the last election, 95% of our members said that they didn't want to have a leadership review. So I'm a legitimate leader of the People's Party of Canada. And after the next election, I will do the same thing. I will ask, the People's Party, will have another independent firm that will ask the question to our members if they want to have a leadership review. So it's, I believe that I have a better confidence vote than Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre was elected with 70-something% of the vote. Our people approved my leadership by 95%. So that's the reality at the People's Party of Canada.
Okay, so I did not realize that, so I do apologize for the misinformation you questioned there. So I did not realize that. So my apologies. So
It's okay.
yeah. Beyond that, what are your goals for the People's Party in the next election? Do you have is your goal to be elected personally? Overall, what's your goal?
But the goal for the People's Party is to grow our percentage of the vote. The more vote we have, the more influential we'll be, and we will change the public debates. And we need to grow as a party. So from 1.6 to 5%, and maybe at the next election, we can go from maybe 5% to 8, 9, 10%. I don't know. But yeah, the goal is to grow the percentage of the vote. And that's why we will have a candidate in every riding across the country. And I know that, our candidate downtown Toronto, it would be very, very difficult to be elected. But that candidate in downtown Toronto can give us 500 or 1,000 votes, and that will help to increase our percentage of the vote. That's why we will have a candidate in every riding. And actually, up to now, we have 160 candidates selected and approved, ready to run when the election would be called. Our goal is to have a full slate before the next election. That will help us to increase our percentage of the vote. And if we have 10% of the vote, look in UK, the Reform Party has 12. They had 12% of the vote, and they were able to elect 5 candidates. So we'll see. Yes, I want to be back in Parliament as soon as possible as the leader of the People's Party. I'll do my best to be elected. But our first goal is to increase the percentage of the vote, and to push our ideas and to be sure that we'll have a national debate on the most important issues for the country.
Speaking of debate, as a question of inquiry for me, as of right now, do you qualify for the debates in 2025? Assuming they don't change the criteria on you suddenly, or will you be in the debates in 2025 as of right now?
Yes, I will. I will. The rule is for a new political party in Canada, it's to have 4% of the vote. We had 5% of the vote. And I don't think that they will change the rule. So, yes, I will be in the debate, and I'm looking forward to debates against Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau if he's still there as the leader, and all these
Do you
establishment
think he will be
politicians.
there?
That will be his decision. I think that he will have a lot of pressure from the establishment of the Liberal Party of Canada to resign, but we'll see. He will have to decide early 2025, because if he resign, his party will need time to have a leadership contest and find a new leader. So we'll see. But for me, answering your question, yes, I'll be participating in national debates, and that will help us to have more visibility with the mainstream media. They will have to speak about our ideas couple of days before the debate, during the debate, and after the debate, and that will help us. I was not participating in the national debates at the last election because we had 1.6% of the vote the election before, and we had 5%. So it will help us to grow, and I'm looking forward for these debates.
Why do you think Pierre Poilievre has grown his support among the Canadian public?
But first, because of Trudeau, because Trudeau is so unpopular, and people, and also, when in your government for 9 years, it's very difficult to be reelected. Look what happened with Harper. So first, because of his opponent, because of Trudeau that is so weak, and second, he is a good communicator, and he's speaking by slogan, and he's doing focus group and polling, and he will repeat the same slogan, but we don't know what that means. We don't know any details about the kind of legislation he will implement. It's all about slogan, axe the tax, and all these slogan like that. So, and yes, Poilievre, and also he doesn't have to tackle issues that he doesn't want, because he just need to speak about the economy, and that will be it. That's helping us. As the economic situation in Canada is helping him also. We are in a recession. Our standard of living is going down, and the inflation is a tax. We have the inflation tax. So the economy also is helping Pierre Poilievre. So that's why it's not a very hard prediction to say that he will win with a majority government.
One thing from before, as we near the end of this interview, I want to ask about was a comment that I want a little more clarification on, which is, what do you mean when you say some cultures are superior to others?
Yeah, when I'm saying that, in the third world, actually, the ethic is not the same. Doing business, and you give money to civil servants to have a permit or something like that, and for them that is normal. And you give money to a politician to have a favor, and that is normal. So that's part of the culture of some countries, but it is not part of our culture. That's another example. And so we are a distinct country. We have, the culture in Canada of Cape Breton, for example, is very different than the culture in Quebec. The culture in Quebec is very different than the culture in Alberta. But that only exists here in Canada for maybe a long time. So we created that, and so we need to be sure that our national cultures will survive. And we are asking immigrants to come and integrate our culture. They can integrate the culture in Alberta, or if they're francophone, they can come in Quebec and be part of the Quebec culture. So that's very different than the culture in Zimbabwe, for example, or another country where the standard of living is not the same, and also they don't share the same ideas. Actually, some of them are coming from these countries and are bringing their conflicts, their internal conflicts that they're having in their countries or in their country of origin. We don't want that. So, and it's a fact that all culture are not equals, because if that was you know, you will be able to have migration everywhere. But that's another big difference with us and the Conservative Party of Canada. We will withdraw from the migration compact coming from the US, because not the US, sorry, the UN, because for them, you know, if you're a citizen in Zimbabwe, you must have the right to be a citizen of Canada. For us, it's a privilege to be a Canadian, and we will withdraw from that migration compact. Poilievre won't. So Poilievre on immigration, on climate change, on the woke ideology, is sharing the same ideas than Trudeau. So if these policies and ideas are so important for you as a voter, the only choice is the People's Party of Canada.
So I am a young person here. What is your pitch to young Canadians? Like, I might not be of voting age yet, but I will be after the next election. So what is your pitch to young voters in Canada right now, especially maybe even young voters who are come here from migration?
Well, I'm telling them, you know, look at our platform first. And when you'll be ready to vote, I hope that you'll have time to look at different political platforms coming from different political parties. So our platform is on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. You can read it. It's very different than the Liberals and the Conservative. Actually, the Conservative, we don't know what is the electoral platform of Pierre Poilievre. Because he doesn't know himself what he believes in. He will need to do survey and focus group before the election to tell you what you want to hear, and that will be his platform. But for us, we are doing politics differently. It's always the same ideas. It's a battle of ideas, and we're doing politics by conviction, not by polling and focus group. So that being said, for a young Canadians, you know, I want you to be able to buy a house. And it's very difficult right now. So what we must do, we must stop mass immigration, because you know, we were able to build last year about 250,000 new homes. But we need to build 700,000 new homes every year just to meet the demands. So you won't be able to build enough homes for all these people that are coming to Canada. So Poilievre said, oh, we're going to build homes, but he won't be able to triple the number of homes that they're building just to meet the demands. The solution, the immediate solution for the housing crisis is to end mass immigration. And like that, you know, it would be, and also to be sure to have a balanced budget. If you have a balanced budget, you won't have to create money out of thin air from the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada won't be able to make inflation with their monetary policy. So that will be helpful for young voters. The PPC will end mass immigration. That will help you to buy a house. At the same time, we will balance the budget in 1 year, and you won't have the inflation tax. And so that's something that it's important. And we are fighting for the conservative family values. We want to be sure that the woke ideology won't be a part of your school. Actually, it's happening right now because the federal government is giving subsidies to radical leftist organizations to promote radical gender ideology in schools. We will end that. We will cut the funding. We will promote our values, our family values. So I think it's a platform that it will be very encouraging for young Canadians.
Okay, before we end this, do you have anything else you would like to say to my audience? Any issues I didn't talk that you didn't bring up that you'd like to discuss real quick?
But I'm very Yeah, I'm very pleased to have that opportunity to be with you, and I want to thank you for what you're doing. And I don't know if your audience is younger or a little bit older, but I want to say to them, if you want to know more about the People's Party, don't listen to mainstream media. Actually, they are ignoring us, and look at our platform, and that's why this interview was important for me. I was able to speak about some aspects of our electoral platform, of our political platform. But if you want to know more, you can go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, click on platform, and everything is there. On every subject, it's it's 2 pages, so it's very easy to read. And at the same time, you can follow me on Twitter, Maxime Bernier, and also on different social media like Instagram. And maybe I will give you a primer. I will be on TikTok in a couple of weeks. That would be new for me. So you'll be able to follow me, Maxime Bernier, on TikTok, maybe in a couple of weeks. And my message to your audience, be strong, be free, and challenge always everything in life. Challenge that and be open to other ideas. And I'm very pleased that you personally, you are open to other ideas. So I appreciate that. And it's like that we'll be able to build a better society when we are having more discussion and more communication. And that's helpful. Now, the big challenge that we are having in different Western countries is we don't have the other side of the story. So if you're not part of the mainstream narrative, you are canceled, and that's very bad for democracy. So I want to thank you to help us to have a better democracy by doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Bernier, and thank you for joining me today. But I'll leave it at that for today. So I'll leave a link to his socials in the description and to his party platform so that you guys can give it a read. I want to thank you, Mr. Bernier, for coming on the YouTube channel of a kid from a way different part of the country than you. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was fun. Let's stay in touch.